Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these few verses are describing the living the body by a person who is Atma Ajita Indriyaha, one who has failed to control his mind and senses. So what has he done? He has engaged his mind and senses in Evam Kutumba Bharane, just to maintain his family. Vyaprata, he is completely engrossed. His mind, his intelligence, his senses, they are all simply engrossed in planning, contemplating, working about the thoughts of maintaining his family. So such a person who is Ajita Atma Indriyaha, what is the state of his consciousness when he is living this world? Mriyate Rudantam Swana. He is crying and his relatives are also crying. When he is dying, he is lamenting, he is crying. And Prabhupada explains why is he lamenting? Because he is thinking he could not provide sufficiently. He tried a lot, but still he could not provide them sufficiently. So he is lamenting. And then he is also thinking that when I am not available, when I am not present, who will be maintaining my family? So he is lamenting, crying pathetically, and he wants to speak to his relative, but he is not in a condition to speak because he is at the deathbed, his voice is choked, and over and above, because he is emotionally so moved, he is not able to speak also. So this is his condition. And Uru Vedanaya Stadhihi. How is he situated? His consciousness is situated. It is too much painful condition, very pathetic condition. He leaves this world. So, sometimes we as a devotee also take this quite lightly. That actually, especially when we are quite young, when we have just joined the Krishna consciousness movement, these thoughts, even though we sometimes preach to people, one day we have to die, right? And the body will change from one body to another, the soul never dies. But it never flashes in our mind. Actually, we do not contemplate at all that one fine day I will also have to leave this world. So, generally when we grow little older, then these thoughts start striking us little bit. When we are around more than 50s, then these thoughts start striking us. When we are in our 20s and 30s, death looks far away. So we don't even bother about that. I don't have to think about death and all, isn't it? But actually, this life is meant for preparation. It is very important to understand. This is so important. Prabhupada is explaining the person who has engaged his time, his energy, his mind, his senses, his intelligence in just trying to maintain his family. What else will be the resultant final thoughts at the time of death? It will not change suddenly that he will start remembering Krishna. Our consciousness at the point of death is the sum total of how we are leading our life. There is no magical, some kind of solution that at the point of death I will be able to remember Krishna. So there is a very nice question which was asked by Arjuna to Lord Krishna. How should one quit his body? And in reply to that, Krishna not only tells Arjuna in what thought if one quits the body, where he goes. Krishna explains that very nicely. Apart from that, Krishna instructs Arjuna. After giving that instruction, he says, therefore Arjuna, do not get lost or absorbed in your material duties. Mama smarena yudhyacha tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. You see, not that only at the point of death you just try to remember me. Krishna will be giving that instruction. It's very beautiful. Prabhupada explains that. So, as a devotee, we have to understand this. That one day will come when we will have to also leave this body. And we do not know in what condition I will be leaving this body. Of course, Prabhupada explains, whatever you have done throughout your life, Krishna never forgets that. Even if we are in the most deranged condition, devotee does not have to fear. What a devotee fears is how am I utilizing my time, my consciousness in cultivating Krishna consciousness. That is what a devotee should be worried about. Devotee does not have to worry whether he will be able to remember or not remember Krishna, what will be the condition at the point of death. Because there is no doubt, if predominantly our life is utilized somehow or other in contemplating and thinking about Krishna, even at the point of death, we will be able to remember Krishna. I remember just I think 2 years back when, that waves of corona was going on, and practically for 2-3 days I did not have even taste of eating. Nothing was palatable and I was not even able to eat anything. And just lying on the bed, I had fever. So difficult, because your mind is absorbed in the weakness of this body so much, so difficult to remember Krishna. Somehow or other completing our rounds, but otherwise it is so difficult. So do not take it for granted that no, I will be able to remember Krishna when I leave this world. So it is what we have in our hand and what we do not have in our hand, we should understand it very clearly. It is not in our hand what you remember at the point of death. It is not possible for us to decide. What is in our hand is, now when we are healthy, when the body has not fallen apart, at this time, at least we should try to remember Krishna always. And then, by the mercy of the Lord, it will be possible that we will be able to remember Krishna when we leave this world. So, sometimes, we take it very lightly and we pass our time. We are not understanding that actually how much important it is, how I invest my thinking, I invest my feelings and willing in everything related to Krishna consciousness. It is so important. So, Krishna replies in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Antakale cha mam eva. Prabhupada explains this word eva, certainly. One, whoever at the end of his life, quits his body remembering me alone. Smaran muktava kalevaram, yah prayati samad bhavam, yati nasti atra samshayaha. Whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So this, if one is remembering Krishna at the point of death, there is no doubt. Krishna is telling he will enter into Goloka Vrindavan. He will enter into spiritual kingdom. So this first Krishna explains, and then, so in the purport, Prabhupada very nicely explains. In this verse, importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. So that is why it is important. Because why we are practicing what we are doing, whatever we are practicing, why are we practicing? Because if whatever we are practicing, the sum total of it will decide our consciousness at the point of death. See, anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness, so So this is what Krishna is suggesting, will be transferred to transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is purest of pure. Anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also purest of pure. Word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. So if we don't purify our mind, we will not be able to remember Krishna. So this practice, whatever we are doing, is to purify our consciousness, and with that pure consciousness, we will be able to remember Krishna. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. Actually, we are thinking we have a lot of time. We are not understanding the reality. We have lost so much of time. We should see the other way. That so much time, suppose if I am 50 years is gone out of my life. How did I utilize them? Have I come to a point where if I have to leave now, will I be able to remember Krishna? That is what we should think about. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. If one wants to achieve success at the end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Kirtaniya Sada Harihi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also advised that actually, if we want to remain Krishna conscious, even at the point of death, the best and simplest method in this age of Kali is to incessantly chant the holy name of the Lord. And then Prabhupada explains in the purport, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given a clue how to chant incessantly. Who will be able to chant 24 hours a day? One who is more tolerant than a tree, one who is more humbler than a blade of grass. With this practice, one will be able to chant the holy name 24 hours a day. So, Prabhupada is saying, Lord Chaitanya has advised one to be as tolerant as a tree, taror api sahishnuna. There may be so many impediments for a person who is chanting Hare Krishna. Nonetheless, tolerating all these impediments, one should continue to chant Hare Krishna. So that at the end of one's life, one can have the full benefit of Krishna consciousness. This 24 hours of chanting, whenever we find time, we should not waste. We should chant incessantly. This will help us, Prabhupada is saying, at the end of the life, the full benefit of Krishna consciousness you will be able to derive. Then, Prabhupada explains the principle of changing the body at the point of death. How the soul is transferred. Why one who is thinking of Krishna is transferred to spiritual life, spiritual world. What is the logic behind that? Krishna explains that principle. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So once Krishna said, without fail, without doubt, you will come back to me if we remember Krishna. And again Krishna is telling the principle is, without fail, you will achieve the state of consciousness what you have at the point of death, what you are contemplating at the point of death. If you see in the story of Puranjana becomes a woman in the next life because his consciousness was absorbed in that allegory, that story which was narrated by Narada, how he was absorbed in the beauty of that woman. So, and then Prabhupada is, in the purport of this, Prabhupada gives the example of even Bharat Maharaj. His consciousness was absorbed in taking care of the deer, and next life he had to take the life of a deer, even though he was a devotee, because that is there. Without fail, you will achieve. Krishna is telling what you are contemplating, what you are thinking about. So devotees have to be very careful. So Prabhupada says, spiritual life is Shurasya Dhara. Shurasya Dhara means it is like razor's edge. We have to be very, very careful. Razor's edge means it is very sharp. Little inattentiveness, there will be cut, there will be bleeding. So, spiritual life, sometime Prabhupada used to say, don't take it like dugdugi. You know, in north, you will find people, they will bring one monkey and he will play dugdugi. Dugdugi means, it's a small kind of drum which you can shake like this and it will create sound like a drum. So spiritual life is not that anybody can, just play like this. So it has to be taken very, very seriously. So, in the purport of this, Prabhupada explains, the process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is explained. A person who at the end of his life quits his body thinking of Krishna attains transcendental nature. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. So that is not true. This is a point we should note very carefully. In the purport is saying, this is the point one should note very carefully. How can one die in proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat, although a great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life. His next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Of course, by the mercy of the Lord, because he was a devotee, he was given a chance, even as a deer, that he remembered his past life. So he was not like an ordinary deer. He would not go and do the ordinary work of an ordinary deer. He would always go to the great sages' cottages, stay there. That is how he passed his life. So, of course, one's thought during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thought at the moment of death. See, this is very important. One's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulates to influence one's thought at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of good, always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one to be transferred to transcendental nature of Krishna. If one is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, his next body will be spiritual, not material. Therefore, chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. And then, in the next shloka, Krishna is advising Arjuna how he should prepare for this consciousness. What is the process? How he will be able to remember Krishna at the point of death. This is not spoken by some ordinary men. This is spoken by Krishna himself personally. He is saying, throughout the life you have to practice. Then it is possible. Tasmad sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mai arpita mano buddhir mam eveshyasi ashamshayaha. So Krishna finally is giving what Arjuna should therefore do. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. Arjuna, therefore, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. Mam anusmara yudhyacha, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains, great acharyas have given us the method how to do this. Mind attached to Krishna and at the same time doing our prescribed duties. Being non-attached to these worldly affairs. Doing them just as our duties. And the example is given, it's just like a woman who is attached to a paramour. She will be always, mind will be always with the paramour, even though bodily she is carrying out her material duties. This is how one should be. So, at the same time carrying out your prescribed duty of fighting, with your activities dedicated to me, Mai Arpita, Mano Buddhir, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So this is the thing. So Prabhupada is saying, this instruction to Arjuna is very important for all men engaged in material activities. The Lord does not say one should give up his prescribed duties or engagements. One can continue them and at the same time think of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. This will free one from material contamination and engage the mind and intelligence in Krishna. By chanting Krishna's name, one will be transferred to the supreme planet Krishna Loka without a doubt. So actually, this is how Prabhupada is explaining in the purport of today's, that one changes his body at the point of death. Once what he is thinking, what he is engrossed in, what a person is, his mind is absorbed in, is decided by how he has spent his whole life. So this person, how has he spent his life? Evam kutumba bharnena, he has spent his life in kutumba bharnena, in all those material activities, and ajita atma indriyaha, he has never conquered his mind and his senses and engaged them in the service of the Lord. So what will be his consciousness at the point of death? His consciousness will be completely in material anxiety about what is going to happen, where he is going to, he has no idea practically where he will be going after leaving this world. And he is completely confused about and worried about, he is in anxiety, who is going to maintain his family. And Prabhupada is giving many examples that he personally has seen. That sometimes, somebody is, when he is explained that very soon he is going to die, and he is, falling down at the feet of the doctor and requesting him, doctor, can you not give me few more years? Is it not possible? Few more years I can live. I have so many works to be finished. My daughter is not yet married, my son is not properly, he has not got an occupation. So Prabhupada is saying he is so rascal, does not even understand that he is not even thinking where is he going. He is not even thinking about that, isn't it? And he will not be there after leaving this world to see where my daughter is, where my son is, what they are doing, isn't it? So one becomes so much bewildered by Maya. This is the whole point. So one has to be very, very alert in Krishna consciousness. Then it is possible that we will be able to utilize our time, our energy properly in remembering Krishna. We should always be like a merchant who is always thinking of how to accumulate more and more and more and more profit. Never satisfied. One is never satisfied in making profit. Anyone is there practically in the material world? Today I have 1 lakh, I am satisfied. I remember one person even in our own Akshay Patra, that when he was earning as a normal, he was working and he was earning some 15,000 as a normal, and somehow by luck he was elevated to an HOD post. And then some devotee asked him, why don't you give some donation? And then still he was saying, Prabhu, still I have a lot of commitment. As an HOD now he was earning 40,000-50,000. Can you imagine? Never. Whether one is earning 15,000 and then 50,000 does not make a difference. And then 1 lakh also you will find. Still then he will have EMIs paying for the car, EMI for my house. You'll find how a person expands in this material world with income. So never he is satisfied. Isn't it? Like that, devotee should be. Never satisfied that now I am finished. I have read Bhagavad Gita, I have read Bhagavatam, finished. He should be always thinking how to increase my Krishna consciousness more and more. That should be his worry. That is the only worry devotee has. He has no other material worries. So we'll stop with this. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.